What's up, guys? So this video is going to be about the post I posted earlier about the landlords being in trouble. Essentially, that article goes through about three different landlords in different parts of the country, and it shows like their struggle. First and foremost, landlords not all rich. Okay, like a lot of them are just, well, majority of them are your neighbor. They're your local investor who decided, hey, instead of me taking a fat vacation, instead of me buying a new car, instead of me just wasting this cash with my potential earnings that I earn, above, I've lived below my means. I got this extra cash. What am I going to do with it? They decided to invest in a rental property, and they're going to use that as a retirement. There's actually a chart in that article that illustrates this. Like, majority of the rental properties in America are owned by small-time investors, and that's the LLCs included, because a lot of people, after you get like a couple, you kind of want to make an LLC so it just passes through to you in a different way, and protect yourself, right? In a sense. So basically, the article is saying, for some reason, people have this misconception of like, landlords are scums. They're, we shouldn't have to pay rent or whatever. But the person that most likely owns your rental property is someone like me or someone like you that might be listening, that just saved up their money and are just trying to get ahead in life and trying to do it the right way. Now, what's going to happen is this ripple effect, right? So the article talks about why reality is when they're trying to do like a redistribution of wealth in a kind of sense, and it's going to trickle everybody down and just going to make the money go back up. So what does that mean? If landlords haven't got a bailout, if someone doesn't pay, I don't get a bailout, and it's, since a lot of the loans you take aren't like, government-backed loans, they're actually commercial loans. Landlords aren't getting bailouts if people aren't paying rent. And even if your property's paid off and someone's not paying rent, you can't even evict them. You're not going to get that money back, never, ever. And if they don't lift this and this continues to bleed, a lot of people that do owe loans, they're going to lose their property. So what happens is now you have this pretty big section of rental properties owned by a certain amount of people. And if they lose all of them, who has the capital and the liquidity to come up and suck those property up? Oh, look at that, Wall Street. They're already doing it. There are already a lot of companies, they're called REITs, and there's already a lot of other private equity firms out there that just swallow this up, and they got big money coming at it. So now you push the average hardworking American that was trying to do the right thing and trying to get ahead in life by owning one or two rentals. You're going to destroy them, take that away from them, and give it back to Wall Street and have them do what? Work, and give them no chance and no opportunity. And as that starts evaporating more and more and more, now you're going to build on this problem even more and more and more about, all the money going to the top and nothing on the bottom. I mentioned earlier in the video, and I explained my political views. I made it pretty clear that, there is no doubt in my mind that there is a gap. There's a huge gap, right? And you could only do so much to right now. Like, we're only doing so much about it to shorten it. But the reality of the thing is what do you propose? Like, what is fair? Like, I understand the problem I do have is 50% of Americans should have a lot more than $400 in their pocket. I think everyone could agree that we all want people to feel a little bit more safe and a little bit more concerned. You could sit there and say, I don't give a damn about those people. Well, if you own a business, you do, because you want them to be solvent. What that means is you want them to be able to not go broke. Because if they got a little bit of extra cash, they're going to continuously spend. And eventually, hopefully, they're going to spend purchasing your goods or your services, right? So this debate could go crazy. And it also all eventually ties back down to how much more government intervention do we need? On the right side of things, they're going to argue that we're in this predicament today because we've constantly put up these incentives to keep people poor. Okay, so what does that mean? Like, there are people out there that I know personally that say, I would rather stay on welfare than get a job because I'm making more money on welfare at this point than I would be getting a minimum wage job. Now, the right on that would say, see, told you so. The left on that would say, well, wages need to be higher, right? Because why would it make economical sense if, and logically, like, if I could sit at home and make more money than at work, why would anyone take that deal? Unless you're just like, I guess, good person in that sense, right? But people are always going to do what's best for them in a sense, right? So those two debates keep going back and forth. So is it government causing this with these programs and like, you know, keeping people in this mindset down, or is it that society hasn't been able to keep up, and before it starts crumbling, government came in to save it? That's really the two debates. Where do I stand on it? I see both sides, man. I think that anytime that you change something dramatically, you fuck up the psyche of everything, man. Like, think about it as a kid when you moved and had to start, you know, new school, new friends or whatever. When you started, you know, your first job, or you went to college first, like when you get a change of scenery, it kind of fucks with you all at once, right? There's not like a transition period. And my whole thing with it would be there needs to be like a transition period. And, you know, when it comes to the, like that's the only way you're going to be able to solve this. You're not going to be able to snap your fingers overnight, tax someone to death, or take over the system. And the thing that bothers me the most is, if you look at a fundamental society, when it starts crumbling, right, when things start all going crazy and shit, it's always the people that advocated, oh, redistribution, or we need to change the system. But the problem is that it's never going to be equal. Like what you're talking about, equality, it can never happen. And let me explain a couple of examples, like to get you kind of thinking what I think. And this has nothing to do with left and right. This is just my logic, right? So if you look at basketball, not everyone's going to be able to be LeBron James. If you look at football, not everyone's going to be able to be Tom Brady. It's just not possible. Like, you can't. What are you going to do? Are you going to, you know, make LeBron play with one hand tied behind his back? Are you going to make Brady throw with only his left? Like what? Like, or Patrick Mahomes when he throw with, like, you know what I mean? And you're like, well, no, you could achieve that, you know, sociologically. You could achieve that in society. And it's like, okay, like the problem is there's always a power out there. And you think about it in a sense, like when you destroy something, there's all these little things fighting for that power that was there. That's what the vacuum comes in, right? Something's going to suck that thing up. If you take money away from the capitalists or people that are rich, what you're going to do is redistribute that power back into politicians' hands. It will never truly ever be your power. Now, that's what I feel. And listening to Peterson one time talk about it, or Dr. Peterson talk about it, he was like, you know, hey, if you get beat down so much in a society, you're like, heck with the system, burn it all down. Because this is as bad as it's going to get for me. I got no opportunity here. So maybe if if I have no chance here, maybe there is a chance if I burn it all down that maybe I could come up one or two steps. And that's a very dangerous thing when we have a society that thinks they need to think that way. So that's why I'm advocating that there needs to be some type of change. But to be able to just destroy all these small-time investors and these people that have been trying to do the right thing and taking away their property rights, not allowing them to, you know, properly evict somebody. I'm not saying throw someone on the street right away, but I'm saying, okay, if originally it was 30 days in your state to evict somebody, hey, make it 60 off the rip. Like, and make it fair. Like, hey, we're going to give you 60 days to figure your stuff out. And then all of a sudden, if the government is saying, no, you can't do that, you know, you can't, whatever, well, then the government needs to pay them. Because if you're not going to, you know, I'm paying taxes to protect my property. That's my contribution when you own a rental property, right? Like, my property tax is going for fire, schools, police, and all that. And in return, I'm not doing it because, you know, I'm a great person, I just love giving away money. You're doing it because inherently I'm benefiting from it too. I'm benefiting from the protection. I'm benefiting from the fact that I know the government's going to have my back because this property's mine. I'm the one that's paying on it. I've bought it. I've earned it. I could continue to do my life. And that's going to be taken care of. And now you're telling me that's not going to be taken care of is freaking crazy. Because majority of the time, all these small rental owners, they own this rental property and they still like work a 9 to 5. They're still working that. If they're starting to get that cut down, like 10% cuts across the board or whatever, and they get this on top, it's going to destroy them, man. And government does have a responsibility to protect property rights no matter what people think. That's just a fundamental thing, because what happens if someone says, I'm not going to protect that property right? You can't have that. That's when you're going to cause a fucking civil war. That's why we have moments like this is the reason why we have a Second Amendment. That's when you go and say, the fuck you will, you know, and I hope to God it doesn't get to that. And it should never get to that. Government needs to do its fucking job. If they're going to say that you can't do something because of this or that, well, then they need to pay you and reimburse you for it. That's the only way I see out of this. And if that's the state that they want to go to, then whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a landlord and you're getting compensated, you really shouldn't care, right? But 60 days should be enough to get someone out of your property. You know, that's fair pretty much on both sides. But the thing that's killing everybody right now is these renters and the landlords are both falling in the free fall. The idea behind it was we give them the $1,200 check. Why would we bail out the landlords? Because this $1,200 check plus a boost in unemployment should be able to cover the basic needs. But fundamentally speaking, I think there's a huge disconnect from Wall Street and politicians to me and you, right? Because if you're coming up, like you got bills. I understand, you know, the complexity of the sense of a regular person just trying to make it through life, and you're kind of living paycheck to paycheck, and you know life is happening. But I think that they don't understand like what people down here are feeling, because they're, you know, I don't know what the hell they're thinking. So if they're not going to give a bailout to renters, they're not going to give a bailout to landlords. Well, in the long run, everyone's going to lose. More wealth is just going to be trickled up to Wall Street and to private equity firms and the wealthy. People like me and possibly people like you that are landlords or potential landlords one day are going to get stripped, and we're going to take the L. Individually, we'll be okay because we still have our own, maybe a little small business, or you have a decent job and that enabled you to get the rental property in the first place. But your life's work is destroyed, and you're the one that looks like an idiot now, and the government's the one that fucked you. So now you're joining the people that are also going to be kicked out of their homes. Because one way or another, they're not going to give the property for free. It's just not going to work. They're going to be kicked out too. And when Wall Street comes in, they'll probably make the rental units a little bit nicer, bump them up, and they're only going to give them to certain type of people. So then the people that were originally kicked out, now they really have nowhere to go. And you added the landlords to that side, and now you added a huge portion of the population that hates the government and hates the situation that we're in. What are we cooking up here, boys and girls? You know what I mean? You're cooking up for devastation and disaster. So I just don't understand how people can't see this. I'm trying to be as calm as I can about this. I mean, I have somebody that hasn't, you know, personally, I'll share the story. I've tried to work with them, and they're not paying. And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting until I could file on June 15th. And if the governor says, okay, after June 15th, we're going to extend it, and you can't file until August, or God forbid, the end of the year, I'm screwed out of that rent from here till then for nothing. And I have no right to reclaim my property, and no one's going to reimburse me. And it's like, yeah, poor you, boo-hoo. Okay, well then, luckily I'm in a position where it's not going to fucking crush me. But what if it was? What if for the last 5 years I was working my ass off, not taking vacations, not doing anything, and I wanted to make the right choice, and that wasn't my only rental? And I've played by the rules the whole time. What happens when the rules don't work for me? You know, that's just a little bit of food for thought, and I think this is happening across the country. So after this video, I'm going to post that chart that shows that majority of the people that own rental properties here are just small-time investors. That's what I was kind of coming back to. And I talked about a lot here, but to wrap it up, it's just like, this is going to be more than just an economic disaster. This is going to be more than just a pandemic. This is probably going to be more than just a political change. This is going to be a world change. Like, that every single hour, every single day that we continue to press this on and continue to keep the country locked up, everything is starting to boil up more and more and more. And eventually it's going to get to a point where it does blow up. Now, what the outcome of this is going to be, I don't know, but I know one thing that I do know for sure. We'll never go back to what we had, at least not for a long time. There's just too many ties and emotions and everything running high that have been cut or destroyed or ruined, that there's going to have to be an astronomical change when we do come out of this. Now, who comes out on top is, well, that's debatable, and we'll see where this is going. But I just want to bring this, guys, to you guys' attention in the sense of, you know, these are the things that are going to impact everyone's life going forward. And, you know, I know we're starting to live our day-to-day lives, and we might not have time to pay attention to these kind of things. So I hope you learned something from this. Maybe you changed your opinion just a little bit and grew a little bit. You know, we'll see. Hey, guys, I'm trying to get to 500. If you like the content so far, you know, share it with just one friend. It would help out a lot. Thanks.